Hey everybody, and welcome to Don't Copy That Floppy. I'm your host Lex, and I'm joined by another special guest co-host.
I am perpetually Chris Boudreau.
Perpetually. We're a video game news podcast broadcasting live Friday, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on chipbit.net, also twitch.tv/DCTF podcast. If you want to check us out on all the different social media, you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, iTunes, Steam, all over the place by searching either DCTF podcast or Don't Copy That Floppy podcast.
Nice.
So we're gonna talk about some great news this week. Great video game news. What have we got? Let's see. We've got collectible card games coming at us from not one but two places.
It's 1995 again.
Yeah, we've got stories about eSports hitting the big time. We've got stories about how Bethesda will never stop making money off of you. Also a story about how Disney is
We'll
also making money. Yeah, but specifically your kids.
Yeah.
And
Start young.
how the UK sales charts are just silly. Also, No Man's Sky. Is it dead yet? Apparently not.
Where's Sean Murray?
We have a silly story that I don't want to tease because I feel like we're not going to have time for it, so I'm just gonna hint at it. And then after that, we're going to talk about games that have just come out, games that are about to come out. I'm going to give you a spoiler on that. One of those games is Night Trap.
Da-da-da-da-da, watch out behind you.
Exactly. That's why I have you here, Chris.
Yeah, thank you.
So we're gonna just jump right into this pile of collectible card games with our first story about Valve. Chris, you want to take it away with this one?
Sure. I was gonna say you should have said let's open this pack of card game.
Rip open this fresh pack of cardboard.
So Valve, the makers of the Half-Life franchise, and to some people that's it. But they are having the International, which is a huge Dota 2 competition with a massive prize pool of it's like 27 million or something, or 72, I can't remember which. But during this, they announced their next game, which is usually a really big thing because Valve, doesn't make games that often. And there was a little teaser trailer with some art, and then the name came up, Artifact. And then underneath it, it said, a Dota 2 card game. And the reaction from the crowd was, ah!
As it should have been.
As it should be. And that's pretty much it. Day9, Sean Plott, who's the host of the
Oh my god, did he have to announce that?
Yeah. Well,
that's so sad. He's such a nice guy.
He is. But he talked about how he has played it a little bit. They cut back to him in the studio, and he said that he was allowed to talk a little bit about it. And apparently the card game plays like Dota, so you play 5 heroes at a time in different lanes and get gold from creeps and stuff.
Oh, that's
it
weird.
Seems that way, but they're cards. And that's basically it. Everyone was disappointed because there's a couple other very, very popular franchises from Valve that I think people want sequels to, and they don't want another fucking card game. But as we have learned from Hearthstone and Gwent and Elder Scrolls Legends, and I'm sure many, many more.
And the Fable collectible card
And
game.
the Fable collectible card game, yes. That card games are apparently really popular and make a lot of money. So everyone's jumping on board. And Valve will no doubt make a ton of money with this.
Oh, they will. Oh, yes.
Yes.
There are some quotes from... Are they from Day9? Yes, they're from Day9.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Oh, yeah. It's not just one board, but 3 boards. Ugh.
For Day9.
It's really nice because often card games can be very complex. And if you've played Dota, virtually any question you would have about how this game works, there's a very clean and clear reference to Dota 2. So this is actually, that quote strikes me as really funny. Because he starts off by saying it's not one board, it's 3 boards, and I'm like, wow, that sounds extremely complicated and annoying. And then he says it's really nice because, you know, often games could get very complex, and I'm like, yeah, like this one sounds like this one. And then he goes on to not say that the game isn't complex, but instead he says that everything about the game is a reference to Dota 2. So the intonation there is that if you know Dota 2 really well, you'll be able to leap the complexity hurdle of this game.
Mm-hmm. And Dota 2, which in itself is an incredibly complex game.
But if you don't expect new players to be able to pick this up unless they have Dota 2 experience, I guess. That's what I'm getting from this.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, he was like, I watched like the video of this, so they did like the teaser, and then they cut to him and a couple other hosts, and he was just kind of talking off the cuff. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't like a PR announcement or anything. Yeah. He's just kind of talking about. But listen, yeah, I know. I see what
Day 9 always talks off the cuff. That's why we love him.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, he's great. I used to watch his StarCraft stuff when I played StarCraft semi-competitively. Yeah, he's an awesome guy.
I feel bad that he was the guy who had to announce this.
I'm sure he got a great paycheck for.
Oh no, yeah, he made a lot of money. Yeah, but you can't buy reputation. That's not true.
One thing that was funny, I watched a little bit of the International, even though I hate Dota. Watching Day 9, because he's hosting with like 3 other pro Dota players, and he's like a 31-year-old man, and he's like 6'5". He's like a big guy. And he's just standing next to these fucking Dota children, and he looks like a middle-aged Southern lawyer standing there in a suit with graying hair. I was just like, oh, I'm sorry, Sean Plott.
oh no.
Want to talk about more card games, Lex?
Yeah.
All right.
So there's a Gearbox apparently announced one. Yep.
Because we can't get enough card games. So apparently this game is called 1v1 or Project 1v1. Made by Gearbox, the makers of Borderlands. It's coming up, and not much information on it, but the one thing that they said was that it's a competitive first-person shooter that combines the action of a fast-paced 1v1 first-person combat with the metagame strategy of a collectible fucking card game. We need more. My question is not so much about the collectible card game part, but how many fucking 1v1 first-person shooters are there? I've never heard of that.
Yeah, that's odd. I mean,
what does that mean?
Because it would be one thing. The easy, simple way to make this game is to have a basic shooter skeleton, have it be 1v1, and then have all the weapons and armor and special abilities be cards you open in packs, and you just equip them to yourself before you start your match. Yeah. But that, I doubt that's what they're going to do. I mean, maybe it is. Maybe they are so creatively bankrupt that that's all they're going to do. And I wouldn't put it past Gearbox and Randy Pitchford to do that. But I assume that it will have more to it than that, which just then you get out of like uncreative territory and just enter really bizarre territory in terms of what kind of game they're making.
Yeah.
So it's
I don't I picture it as being like the characters are like bullet sponges and the cards are different like guns and armor and stuff.
Yeah.
And, you put that on. I don't know.
That's so like I'm kind of tantalized by this. I want to hear more about it. But because Randy Pitchford is making it, I am fully prepared to hate it with all my heart.
You don't like that, Randy Pitchford?
Oh man, you haven't listened to our old episodes of the podcast. We hate Randy Pitchford.
Okay.
Mostly because we covered a lot of the Aliens Colonial Marine stuff.
Oh, Jesus.
As it was happening, and like the lawsuit associated with it. And it's just, he's such an asshat. It's like incredible. So not that he hasn't made good games, because he has. Like the Borderlands games I actually really enjoy. Borderlands 2, I will still pick that up and play that on a semi-regular basis. Mm-hmm. But I think that he's just as a person, he just is horrible.
Yeah. All I know is that he wears really bad shirts.
Not surprising. Not.
But so this card game phenomena, would you ever? We are children of the '90s. I remember Magic the Gathering, sir. I remember Pokemon cards, sir.
Hey, if you want to stray away from video games for a second, I can tell you something about Magic the Gathering that I was just hearing about the other day.
Sure, it is a game.
It's I mean, it's a collectible card game, as you said. It started in the '90s, certainly true. But unlike its contemporary, Pokemon, or I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh, or any of the other card games that sprung up around that time, not only is it still going strong, but it's actually doing better than ever.
Really?
There's apparently what they're doing right now is over a 2-month period or maybe 3-month period. They're releasing like 2 or 3 sets and these special other like limited edition like card box things.
Wow.
And I was talking to a guy who owns a game store about this, and he was trying to figure out whether to order them or not. And the reason why he was worried is because you have to order all this stuff well in advance. And the problem is if Wizards of the Coast, who make Magic the Gathering, if they oversaturate the market in this play that they're making, then game stores will have already ordered all this stuff. And as soon as the first one comes out and doesn't sell as well, or you probably see it by like the second set that comes out within this time frame, they've already ordered all 3 because they're all coming out so close together. So the game stores are just going to be screwed if this hurts the game sales.
Right.
Because they won't be able to reorder or have anything returned or anything like that.
Right.
On the other hand, if everything sells like gangbusters when they do this in the same way that sets have been selling, usually sets are spaced way farther apart than this, then it will basically prove that Magic the Gathering cannot be beaten and is a juggernaut that will just always generate money.
Right, yeah, because they're pretty much their only competitors themselves.
Yeah, and so their only fear was saturating the market. And if this thing doesn't saturate the market for them, if people are still buying it in the same volume that they do when it's more spaced out, then they're fine. They can't screw up.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think that when most people think collectible card games, they do think of Magic.
Yeah.
Because there's really not many other ones. There's a lot of like indie games out there, like Legend of the Five Rings. Well, that's not an indie game, but Legend of the Five Rings was another one like in the 90s. And there are other collectible card games, but I think most people think Magic the Gathering. Even though I don't think a lot of... I wonder how many people actually play them and how many people just collect them,
I mean, from what I see, it's a lot of people play. And I don't know, people just freaking love collectible card games, especially now. And it really seems like since the mid-90s, that trend hasn't really diminished. The one thing that Magic does really poorly that I think that I hate them for, not in terms of making the game, but in terms of the way they do tournaments, they just don't give good prize money to the players. So you have all these people who are like champion Magic players and are like living with their parents.
Yeah.
And it's really sad, especially given that we know that the game generates tons of revenue for the company that prints it.
Yeah.
Now, to bring it back to video games, when we look at something like Hearthstone, which seems to be taking advantage of this card game craze and bring it into the digital age.
And made by Blizzard, the masters of polish.
Yes.
Everything in that game just like clicks and pops and whirs perfectly.
It's so good. So they're setting up more tournament stuff, and like other esports, they are actually interested in paying their champions a significant amount of money. So if anything, I have more respect and admiration for Blizzard in this case, but that segues nicely into our next story, which is all about the esports.
All about esports.
Esports. They're a big deal. We knew that for a while now, but article from The Guardian. That's right, The Guardian, a real news source.
Some real journalism in this fucking show.
We find out that it is very likely that esports could be a medal event in the 2024 Olympics. Crazy.
Crazy. I don't think this is going to happen, though. I honestly, after reading this, at least in the Olympics, I don't think it'll happen.
Well, we know that this is sort of coming on the heels of news that in April it was announced that the 2022 Asian Games are going to have esports. And and now the Paris Olympic Committee is considering it, and many people think the reason why they're considering it is because of the money, those dollar bills,
and the kids with the money,
and the kids, because esports are proven to be money machines, at least for the moment. And we have also seen, apparently, there are trends that people watching the real Olympics are in decline. So I was also, I don't know if it says in this article, but I was reading something about how there's like, the last Olympics had like 7 million people watching. Whereas,
that's it?
Or it might have been more than that, but it was like, I think it was around that number. Whereas the, I think it was the international, like the Dota 2 championships had 5 million people watching.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, so that's like almost as big as their current audience. So yeah, they're super incentivized to want to do that.
Yeah. Everyone's sick of Bob. Is it Bob Costas that hosts the Olympics?
Is it really? I mean, I know who Bob Costas is. I didn't realize he hosted the Olympics. I think now that you mention it, I do remember seeing him do that.
Bob Costas. Am I thinking of the right guy? Yeah, Bob Costas. Yeah, it's always like it comes on, it's NBC. It's like dun 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 dun. And it's like, I'm Bob Costas in Uzbekistan or wherever. And yeah, he's always the one hosting. Anyways, no. So this story, I think it does beg, or it should be said that they talked to the International Olympic Committee president, the IOC, President Thomas Bach, who they say his support would be crucial to esports edition in the Olympic event. And he didn't sound as down for it. And he says, we are not yet 100% clear whether esports is really sport with regard to physical activity and what needs to be considered sport.
Yeah, and I think that's the big clinch for it. Because
and I kind of agree with him, because I don't think esports are sports. Like, esports players are not athletes, you know. What they do is completely legitimate, and it should be completely considered competitive gaming, but it's not athletic. It's not athletic sport what they're doing.
No, it is, because it doesn't have that physical activity component, not at all. But but if that's like, it makes sense that the Olympics want to measure by that metric, because everything else they have is like that. But I would still, so I wouldn't say it's an Olympic sport, but I would still classify it as a sport, if only because it's such a skill-based competitive thing.
It all depends on like what your definitions of things are. Yeah, I mean, I think it's in the same league as, you know, like like high level chess play, or stuff like that. Totally. Which, you know, you might be able to consider it a sport. But
is chess at the Olympics? Is chess a medal sport?
No, neither is like professional poker. You know, so I don't think we'll see. I mean, actually, we might, if it really comes down to like the board of trustees or whoever, you know, they're like, listen, no one's fucking watching the games anymore. We got to do something. And if it's really, really popular in Asia, which it is, and they're like, we can get a ton of people watching the Olympics again if we get, you know, Dota 2 right next to curling, and, you know.
Okay. I'm gonna call BS on the Olympics just for the fact that they have curling.
I love watching curling.
I mean, no, so do I, but it's not an Olympic sport, okay? It's something you could do in your kitchen when you're bored.
No. Hey, man, I'm Canadian. We love our curling. But, yeah, I don't know. Like, what do you... I don't know. I don't think it'll happen, but...
I think what's interesting about this, to me, is that in the past, like, only couple of years, we've seen esports balloon into the money-making machine that they now are.
Yeah.
And they're talking about the 2024 Olympics, which is quite a ways away, considering the timeline of how big esports have gotten in, since they came about.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be curious to see if esports are proven to be kind of a fad and they start to trail off. And I think if that happens, we definitely won't see them at the Olympics, nor should we.
Right.
But
Yeah. I mean, I remember, was it last week or a couple of weeks ago? Once again, I feel like I've been doing this since I was 14 years old, this show. But one of the weeks that I was on, we talked about the Overwatch League.
Yep.
And like, that's something that I think, once again, like, I think that the only reason that esports are becoming or have become so huge is that there's big companies that are putting a lot of money behind it, and they're pushing it for it to work. And like, I think that's the only reason that we're seeing it as big as it is.
Yeah, that's probably a pretty big component of it.
Mm-hmm.
And because we know that they are pretty new, I'd be really interested to see what happens with them. Now, let's say they continue to grow. Maybe they stop growing at such a massive rate, but they still continue to grow. Then I think we probably will see them in 2024. Because begrudgingly the French will allow them in. Although I think the French do everything begrudgingly, so that probably
right. Yeah, that's kind of like mais c'est so dark, kind of existentialism.
So they because they'll just make so much money that it would be a folly to ignore them. But what's also a super interesting component of this is how much influence the Asian market has over everything.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Because they're having this because there's just so many people, and those people all have money and they're all spending money. And it's funny when you think about it from an American perspective, because for so long America was the driving force behind all of this stuff, because we had all the people with all the dollars.
Yeah, we had all the money.
and you see it in video games, but you also see it in Hollywood blockbusters all the time.
I think that's an even more pronounced showing of it.
That it's getting to a point,
different versions of different movies.
But I just think it's really interesting that it's getting to a point where all of these forms of entertainment, because I would certainly qualify the Olympics as that, are catering now to a different country.
Well, we're in the middle of a sea change, a shift. And I mean, it's happened in history many times where dominating economic nations switch hands. And this is just the one that we're in.
Oh man, suddenly Blade Runner makes way more sense now.
No. I mean, I'd say this to any kids listening, if there's any kids listening, study Mandarin instead of French or Spanish. Like it's going to be better to know that in your lifetime, probably. But yeah, Olympics. Do you watch the Olympics, like, as a rule?
I watch certain events. I don't watch even close to all of it, but they're like, I'll catch curling because I like to have a good laugh. And
it's chess on ice, all right?
Sure it is. But no, I think there's a lot of great stuff there. The gymnastic stuff is always super impressive.
Absolutely. The ice skating is always crazy.
Yeah, that's
so dramatic. I have a weird thing. I'm like obsessed with the Olympics. Like me and Pete Brown are both weirdly obsessed with watching the Olympics when they're on.
It's weird.
And we like talk about it. We're like, oh, what events did you catch today? It's a strange thing. I don't know, but I like it. I think it's a really old but really impressive world tradition. It's like one thing where the world comes together and doesn't bitch about things for a little while.
No, I think that's one of the great things about it. That's the Olympics at its best. And
if that means that we have to watch Overwatch and Dota, then so be it.
There was actually a little thing I was reading about how the likely games that would appear, and maybe this was about the games for the 2022 Asian Games, but I think they were talking about the 2024 Olympics. It would be Dota 2, StarCraft 2, Hearthstone, and then eSports game, either a FIFA or an NBA game, and it would be FIFA, as you and I were talking about earlier. Like, it would obviously be FIFA. But I was like, wow, if for one thing, it's weird for people to think that's going to be set in stone now, because like it would make more sense to put Dota 2 and StarCraft 1, because I think even though people really like StarCraft 2 and it's played in tournaments, I think StarCraft 1 still has more legacy and staying power.
Yeah.
Especially when you're talking about an event that would happen so many years in the future.
I honestly think either StarCraft are weird picks. I think that they're both. I mean, Brood War is obviously very old, even though that they're making a HD remaster. And StarCraft 2 has just lost potency because it lost its imbalance a long time ago.
Yeah.
It just got very stale. It became very rote, and I think that it lost a lot of steam at that point. So I think it'd be strange to see either StarCraft game there.
But like Hearthstone, I mean, Hearthstone's been on top of the world for a while, and we know that everyone loves collectible card games. But I am curious as to, with all these other companies putting out collectible card games, we're seeing so many of them now. If players are going to get burnt out on them, and we're going to see all of them decline, including Hearthstone.
It's just going to be Gwent. Gwent's going to be the only game that's the only card game.
But FIFA will definitely be there, and I think Dota 2 probably would be there.
I would imagine like Counter-Strike or like
that's what I was expecting to see on that list. I was also expecting to see a shooter, like we just said, like Counter-Strike, but also if you're Blizzard, like an Overwatch.
Or maybe PUBG.
PUBG. Last week, all about PUBG. But hey, you know who's happy about that list is Blizzard Entertainment.
Yes, they are.
Because if there were 4 games at the Olympics that were video games, and your company made 2 of them, man, you're in good shape.
Yes, you are. They don't have anything to worry about ever.
Nope, nothing. So moving on to our next story.
Talking about companies that are in good shape.
Companies are in good shape. We have a story from Eurogamer from the 10th. Nearly 2 years after Fallout 4 came out. That's right, it's getting a Game of the Year edition.
It's getting a Game of 2 years ago edition.
Yes. This is another in a long line of instances in which Bethesda says, hey, how do we resell a game because that everybody loves, because we know they'll pay for it again.
They're very good at that.
They're really good at it. I'm curious. I wish I knew the numbers on this, and I don't think they would release them. But I'm curious as to how much of their revenue is made from products that they are just reselling.
Oh, geez, I'm sure they have the metrics for that.
Yeah, like I'm sure they know the metrics for that, but I'm sure they would not release the metrics.
No. That's a Pete Hines' dirty little secret.
Yeah.
A lot, if I had to guess. But it's kind of genius. I mean, like, as much as like for people that played it originally, like when they announced Skyrim on the Switch, like, I think that for a lot of people, like, oh, that's perfect. You know, like it's a portable Skyrim. How cool. Yeah. And it is kind of cool. But it's like, I'm sure they make a shit ton of money off of re-releases. Oh, but this one is strange. It's not strange that it's coming out because it was a huge game. You always assume that they're going to come out with a Game of the Year edition for a huge game. But why wait this long?
Because now I assume because the sales on Fallout 4 are starting to dip in a significant way. And now they're like, we got to bump those back up.
Yeah. And I guess they're done with DLC, so they put all that.
I mean,
although they've been done with the DLC for a while, so.
This edition comes with all the updates and add-ons, which we expected. If it didn't, that would be stupid. That's the one thing I'll give to Bethesda. There are certain companies that re-release games, Activision, that where they don't give you the DLC, like you have to rebuy it. But at least Bethesda doesn't pull that kind of shenanigan.
Yeah, they don't.
I don't know. It's I think it's mostly dumb that people are willing to pay for it again. I think it's dumb. I mean, we talked about it before, but I think it's dumb that people are willing to continuously pay for Skyrim.
Yes.
This is less dumb because this is only the first time it's being re-released.
Right, right. And I imagine that a lot of their target are people that just never bought it in the first place, you know?
Who are those people? Who are the people who are going to buy Fallout?
They're the same people that haven't played Grand Theft Auto 5 and are buying it this year. It's the same people.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be that. It could be that, like, yeah, I'm sure that there's a lot of people out there that, like, they heard of it and they're like, I didn't have the money at the time. And then all this DLC came out and they're like, oh, it has everything. Well, I guess I'll try it now. It's, you know, it's the summer. I have some extra money. Or I don't know, when is this game coming out? Does it say?
I thought it was out. No, I'm sorry. 28th of September.
Okay, so yeah, they're going to be on Christmas. Like, you know, there's some kids for Christmas. Mm-hmm. They have extra money. They're like, oh, I'll play that super long game over Christmas break or something, I guess.
Or Thanksgiving, sit down.
Or Thanksgiving, so you don't have to pay attention
some leftovers. Try not to listen to your uncle's political views. Just play Fallout 4.
Try not to get into an argument at the table and throw turkey around. That's a true story. Sorry, I kind of pulled that from a real place.
There's nothing I doubt about that story. I'm sure that is a story that many families have.
Turkey gets thrown against the wall. Year 4.
Year 4. So this is, I mean, I hate that the way video game culture is headed into this thing, because we've reported on it quite a bit, even since you've been here, since you were 14 years old, about how people just like the best-selling games are just re-releases and remakes. And I think that at the end of the day is going to hurt the industry a lot more than it helps it.
I think that it's in a better place than, say, like the film industry. I
mean, the film industry started going down that reboot road, and they're beyond help at this point. But
which actually reminds me, I need to watch the new Mr. Plinkett review for Ghostbusters.
Oh my god, that's so good. Okay,
I haven't watched it yet.
Quick plug: if you like movies and you like hearing people like complain about movies, watch Red Letter Media's stuff. Dan loves it. I love it. Apparently, Chris Boudreau also loves it. I didn't know.
I'm a long time
fan. Yeah. And it's great. And they just did a review of the Blu-ray of 2016's Ghostbusters.
Yeah, which apparently was not very good. I haven't seen it. But I think that the video game industry is in a better spot than that because it has such a thriving indie scene that they can still do things like have PUBG come out of the middle of nowhere and blow everything out of the water. You know, it can still innovate it can still have indies who innovate on ideas.
Yes,
and come out of left field with a I was going to say left field with a right hook, but you know what I mean. They can come out of nowhere and shock the world, like the way Gone Home did when it came out, or like Super Meat Boy a while ago. I think it's still a good place for that, because I think more than film or more than television, video games have very fickle consumers. One, because I think the products cost so much, but they have very discerning consumers, and the cream will rise to the top in video games always, because people are going to be very critical about everything that comes out. You know what I mean?
True. Yep.
You know, like Mass Effect Andromeda is a great example where if that was a major film and had all those problems, it still probably would have made a lot of money in China, you know?
In China.
But, you know, it was a huge expensive game by a huge company, and it fucking just wasn't very good. You know, there was a lot of problems with it, and it crashed and burned so hard that it probably killed that franchise. But that's, you know, it goes to show you that if games are bad, then consumers will not stand for it. Mm-hmm. They will speak with their wallets more often than not.
Yeah. No, I think that the game industry still has not, there's still plenty of hope for the game industry. I'm just, over the past year or two, I just have seen this trend grow and grow, and it makes me more concerned. I just don't, I'm worried. I feel like I'm I see the storm coming from a long way off, and I'm just like, you guys?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think. I mean, I think that some companies take it to heart. I mean, like you look at Ubisoft, with their sales of Assassin's Creed were dipping year over year. So they said, "All right, we're gonna wait a couple of years to come out with a new one."
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think some companies do right, and they also might see the storm coming. You know, but they also see that it's still I think that they see it both ways, because you look at something like Horizon Zero Dawn, which did extremely well, at least for a Sony exclusive, and that's a brand new IP. That's like a no-no nowadays. It's like, ooh, a big brand new IP that's super expensive from a company that has made nothing but a franchise, that like a single franchise, and then it comes out and does really well. I think that's a good sign that some people will probably pay attention to. Definitely. And they'll be like, oh, new IP can do all right. Maybe we should try it,
Speaking of people's sales habits, though, this wasn't going to be our next story, but I realized it segued super well into it. So let's talk about the UK sales charts.
PS4, man. Crash Bandicoot, insane trilogy. So, do you want me to read the story?
Yeah, go for it.
Story comes from GameSpot, from Oscar Deus. The Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, which is the remaster of Crash, is doing ridiculously, insanely well in the UK. It's come off the number one on the sales charts for the UK again. Not only that, but it has, according to Chart Track, a company that tracks the sales of these games, that it is the most weeks at number one for a PS4 exclusive title, and the most weeks at number one for any title so far this year. It beat out Grand Theft Auto 5, all those people that have not played it, that are still buying it, which is the Grand Theft Auto 5 is the UK's best-selling physical title so far this year. And Fallout 4, which we were talking about, is at number 3, Doom at 4, Dishonored at 2, Splatoon 2 at 6, which fell from the second spot to the 6th spot. But all that moving around, all those big games, Crash Bandicoot still the best. This is it's crazy, and I think Activision thinks it's crazy too, because they stated that the game has surpassed all expectations by a pretty wide margin. It is also, I think somewhere in the story they say that PlayStation has actually said that it's doing extremely well in the US and Europe online games, or downloaded games. So it's crazy. What the hell kind of world do we live in, Lex? Where
I have a new theory.
It's card games and Crash Bandicoot.
maybe it's that new games just don't go to the UK. They just don't get shipped there. So
at all?
Yeah. So they just got Crash Bandicoot, and they got like Splatoon 2, and they're like, well, all our other games are like a year old, so what else are we gonna play?
Yeah, I was like, I remember this from my childhood, back when I was a chimney sweep. Sorry.
That's no good. It's no good. But no, I think it's really, really interesting that they just love Crash Bandicoot. Do we know if they loved Crash Bandicoot when it first came out, like this much?
I don't know.
Because I didn't think they did.
Yeah, is it like the Japanese and the band Rush? Like, is it just...
Oh my gosh, the Japanese know what they're doing, okay?
Oh yeah, they love that prog rock.
Yeah. There's a lot of great synth pop. Also had a second life in Japan.
Oh yeah. They really like that Andrew WK as well, so much that he made an album that was like, I think it was just inspired all by anime or something like that.
It was like Gundam stuff. It was like
Gundam
themed.
stuff.
That was great. Yeah. What a great guy.
What a great guy. Party. But yeah, so it maybe like Crash was a huge deal in the UK in the 90s. I mean, I think Crash was a big deal for everyone in the 90s.
Yeah, no, I mean, it just wasn't this big a deal. That's
no. It's really strange because, yeah, it says Sony revealed last week that the Remastered Trilogy was the best-selling title on PSN in the US and Europe last month. So it's doing just extremely well all around. I hated the Crash games when I was a kid, and I don't think I was alone. But apparently, it's just the nostalgia bomb is too much for people.
Like and we have read all these things about how the Crash games, the new ones in particular, are brutally hard. Not just because the old ones were hard, but because the new ones are even sort of more difficult because of the way the hitboxes work.
Yeah.
And that's interesting to me because for so long now, video games have become easier and easier. And because we seem to think that's where the market wants to go, but apparently no, people are happy to buy really hard games. I guess Dark Souls also proved that, although not in the UK, because I don't think they care about Dark Souls. But certainly in Japan.
And the US.
And the US.
I think, the Dark Souls games almost like proved something important for the industry and like the medium as a whole, where it's like, no, it's not about like, it's not about ease of use or easiness. It's about fair challenge, you know?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of gamers responded to that very positively because they're like, yes, that is what it's about. It's like, you just have to design your game really well and you can put all the challenge you want, you know?
I'm really
but
hoping...
I don't think Crash is a part of that.
No, I don't think it is, and so I just don't understand this, and I'm really hoping that in the next couple weeks, a story comes out about how like one guy in the UK was just buying millions of units of the Crash Bandicoot Insane trilogy, and that's what was skewing the numbers.
Sure,
because that's the only explanation that makes any sense to me, honestly.
Yeah, it's the Queen. The Queen loves Crash Bandicoot. She's been buying them all.
Oh,
putting them in Buckingham Palace.
Obviously. How did I not see it before? We also know from this. I mean, at least in the UK, probably everywhere. We're probably gonna see some Crash Team Racing or some other Crash franchise stuff revitalized by Activision.
Yeah, and I think Spyro's probably next.
Oh yeah, definitely. I would really like to see that. Actually, I think more fondly of Spyro than I do of the Crash games.
Yeah,
but
I don't think I ever actually played any of the Spyro games. I just knew about them through osmosis. Back in the day when everyone was trying to get a mascot up off the ground.
Yes. Oh, it was a big deal. During our childhoods. But speaking of childhoods...
and ruining them.
You ever heard of Disney? Of course you have.
You heard of Disney, motherfuckers?
Apparently Disney has been breaking the law in a big way. They, in an article from The Verge from August 9th, we learned that Disney is being sued for allegedly spying on children through 42 different gaming apps. Disney's response: we look forward to defending this action in court, which makes me think that there is some sort of gross legal loophole that Disney knows they can exploit here.
Oh yeah.
But basically what's happened is there are all these like really garbage little phone apps that
with great names.
That feature characters from Disney movies because they're officially licensed. And they get little kids to download them on their parents' phones or the family tablet or something like that, and then just play them nonstop. And I'm sure there are microtransactions in them, and Disney makes money off of those.
Gorsh, looks like you got to put in your parents' credit card number.
Definitely. But one of the things that apparently we found out they have been doing is that these apps have been taking information, other information that maybe these kids have entered on the tablet or something in terms of what other websites they're going to or kind of stuff they want to buy, things like that, recording that information and then selling it to a third party. Now, this is the kind of thing that we see a lot with websites for adults, like Google and Facebook does this all this
it's just sucking up all your data, your ways to advertise to you.
It's a fun story. Facebook is not really free, like a lot of people think it is. What you're paying is your information. You are giving them information. That is how you are paying for Facebook, and so that people can market to you. And a lot of people don't mind this when it's Facebook or when it's Google because A, we're dealing with adults, but B, because a lot of people don't actually see targeted marketing as a bad thing. And I mean, I might be among them. I actually don't have much against targeted marketing myself, but there is a law on the books called the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, or COPA, that was enacted in 1999 by Congress, probably during this whole internet scare about how, like, oh, your children are gonna meet like sketchy pedophiles on forums, and then they're gonna get their information from your kids, and then they're gonna come to your house and bad stuff's gonna happen. I'm pretty sure that was the rationale behind this law, but what it extends to is the kind of stuff that Disney was doing with these apps. Or so argues the person who is bringing the suit against the company. And the plaintiff, a San Francisco woman named Amanda Rushing, who talks about how
is she?
About how her daughter was playing this mobile game, and the data was then sold to third parties for ad targeting.
The skeezy part, like you said, is that I'm pretty sure Disney was like, oh, we've already thought of that.
Because of their response, right? Like, their only response to this was like, we look forward to this day in court. And I'm like, yeah, you don't say that if you're not totally confident you're going to win.
Yeah, and it's fucking Disney, so I'm sure
there's a statement from them in this article which ends in that, but I'll read the whole thing here. Disney said, Disney has a robust COPA compliance program, and we maintain strict data collection and use policies for Disney apps created for children and families. The complaint is based on a fundamental misunderstanding of COPA principles, and we look forward to defending this action in court. So yeah, I assume that they know of some sort of legal loophole, and that's what they have been exploiting. And as soon as this goes to trial, their lawyer will bring up a document and be like, you see, in this paragraph on this page of the law, it says this, and that's what we're doing, and that's why we can do it.
Right. All 5,000 of Disney's lawyers will descend upon the court.
That's what's going to happen, because I'm sure they're making a ton of money off of this little venture.
Oh, yeah. Listen, Lex, you don't make Club Penguin Island without knowing how a couple of the loopholes work, all right?
No, you don't. It's funny, though, because it's like Disney... somebody's getting money, and it's Disney's lawyers. They're certainly not funneling that money into the people who are making the apps.
No. They do name them Upsite, Unity, and Kochava, who are apparently three software companies that I'm sure are subcontractors for Disney that make these, I can only imagine, garbage apps.
I can name some of the apps. We got.
Please do, because we got some real gems in there.
Avengers Net.
Hold on. This is to anyone that doesn't think that the App Store isn't just a fucking fiery garbage heap. You can read some of these names and pretty much know the quality.
Avengers Net. There's no space between those two words, but the end is still capitalized. Beauty and the Beast. That's all it's called. Perfect Match. Cars Lightning League, but no.
I think they spelled that wrong.
Yeah, they spelled lightning wrong. It's like lightening. Club Penguin Island. Color by Disney. Disney Color and Play. Disney Crossy Road. Disney Dream Treats. Disney Emoji Blitz. Disney GIF. Just Disney GIF. It's just a GIF.
Just a GIF.
Yeah.
It's of Walt Disney.
Oh, I see. Yeah. No, and the GIF just it's just him wagging his finger, and then a voice bubble pops up saying, "I hate Jews."
Freeze my head.
Disney Jigsaw Puzzle with an exclamation point. Disney LOL.
Yep, that's the one.
Disney Princess Story Theater. Disney Store Become. What?
Yep.
Yeah, some of these are clearly made by foreign companies, and just they don't bother to spell check them because they don't care. Disney Story Central, Disney Magic Timer, Disney Princess Charmed Adventures, Dodo Pop.
Dodo Pop.
Yeah,
to break up the naming scheme.
Disney Build It Frozen. Build It Frozen.
Build It Frozen.
DuckTales Remastered. Okay, DuckTales Remastered is a real ass game, and it's good. Yeah.
Wasn't that made by like Way Forward or?
I think so. It was some sort of company that like actually knows what they're doing. Frozen Freefall, Icy Shot. Good Dinosaur Storybook Deluxe. Uh,
Excellent name.
I could go on forever with these, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna just cut that off there. The
Oh, my favorite. I'm sorry, but there was one that was my favorite, which is "Where's My Water?" 2.
Where's My Water 2? Oh, Where's My Water is paid, light, and free. There are 3 different versions of Where's My Water, and perhaps 3 different versions of Where's My Water 2. Who knows?
By the way, DuckTales Remastered was made by Capcom and WayForward, so yeah.
Oh, yeah, Capcom. That's the company that I was trying to think of.
Because they made the original one, at least.
I'm so sad that DuckTales Remastered is on this list.
Yeah, I know.
It is not. It sticks out like a sore thumb among all these other like bad like Korean like junk apps.
Yeah.
So anyway,
but for Disney, life is like a hurricane sometimes, Lex.
It's exactly
Here in Duckburg.
Woo.
But they'll win this. Nothing will come of this.
Yeah, nothing will come of this. This woman's gonna lose. She's gonna lose a lot of money. She's gonna be real sad. But she lives in San Francisco, so something tells me she already has a lot of money, and she'll probably be fine.
Yeah, she might have to move to the second most expensive city in the world.
Oh, down to Los Angeles. Ugh. So let's go to what will now be our last story, since we're a little low on time. No Man's Sky. It's not dead. It's back.
The game that you cannot kill.
No Man's Sky released DLC, which included new story, limited co-op, and much more. This is No Man's Sky 1.3.
I also want to say this. I've seen this guy write for IGN. This is by Joe Scrambles, which, what a great name that is.
Oh, good for him. That was all you wanted to say, though?
Yeah, the name Scrabbles is funny to me.
Sure. So yeah, Hello Games, they teased this stuff. We actually reported on how they teased it with the ARG stuff they'd put out. But we didn't really know what was going to be in this update. It turns out a butt ton of stuff, including 30 hours of new story content, a whole game worth of new story content, including the appearance of new interdimensional alien race, which sounds pretty cool.
I will say that some of that kind of sounds like dev speak. It's like 30 hours of new story content. Is that actually 30 hours? Or,
yeah, fair. Limited online co-op called Joint Exploration, which is apparently...
big because that's something that a lot of people had trouble with in the original one.
Yeah, well, that's what they sort of said was going to be in the original one, and then it wasn't. The analysis of that I've read about apparently is that other players are like these weird glowing orbs that float around, and you can pretty much just talk to them, and I think you can trade items with them, but that's it. So it's really basic, rudimentary co-op. That is nothing to get particularly excited for, and again is the thing that like their game should have launched with. But if anything, what this DLC proves is that the No Man's Sky people are still putting in tons of hours of work into this game. So maybe next year we will have actual co-op for this game.
Maybe.
Where you get to like dogfight people and stuff. There's also some of the other things: improved galactic mapping and better waypointing, quality of life changes like that. There are apparently like new
galactic
biomes.
Apparently there's a whole economy, galactic economy. I did watch the little video, the trailer. Apparently the better resolution, better textures on the planets. It looks like a great update. If you play No Man's Sky, if you're one of the 5 or 6 people that still play it. And yeah, like you were saying, like, good on them, because the one thing about No Man's Sky, whatever the controversy was around the launch of the game, is that they made a lot of money off that game because a lot of people bought it. As we saw, like, I think it was last week, we were looking at sales numbers on Steam, and No Man's Sky had like the most consecutive players like ever.
Oh yeah, we did
somewhere on the list. And it's like that they made a lot of money with that game. Sony probably made a lot of money with that game. They probably don't like the fact that their player base dropped out completely after it was done. But at least they're doing something with it. At least they have their nose to the grindstone. They're coming out with huge updates like this. And Sean Murray in whatever igloo he's in away from the world, never to be seen again. So I think it's good. Now that the game is becoming what it was kind of intended to be. I'll be honest, like I looked at the updates and I'm like, maybe I'll try it again, like now with all this stuff out.
Yeah, no, I think that this is proven to be that they're, like I said, they're still working on it, still working really hard on it. So again, like, yeah, next year I will buy this game and it will probably be everything that I wanted it to launch as, and I will be completely satisfied. Yep. I still get on Hello Games all the time, and I'm going to get on them again for not properly communicating with its player base and its fan base, because, man, if they had just been saying from day one that, like, no, seriously, like, these are the things that are down the pipe and we're working on them and it's going to take us a while, but we're going to do it, and made that clear to people, I think it wouldn't have gotten as big a backlash. And I think this stuff comes as a very pleasant surprise, but it shouldn't come as a surprise. They should have talked about how all this stuff was coming out, and in doing so, people would have rejoined the game in anticipation for it. And then if they had botched it, if we didn't really get 30 hours of content, if we didn't really get joint exploration, if we didn't really get all this other stuff, then obviously those people would have left again and been mad again. But assuming they were actually going to deliver, all those people would have come back and they would have stayed. So
maybe
I think
sorry, go ahead.
I think that a lot of the problem with this stems from them not knowing how to communicate with people, and if they just did that better, not all the problem. I'm not going to put all this on Hello Games. There are some people on the internet who suck and they deserve a lot of blame for this. But I think in terms of the stuff that Hello Games could be doing better, just be more communicative, I think their game could be doing better now than it currently is if they just continuously communicated better.
Well, that's the thing, is that a lot of people forget, is that, like, Hello Games is a tiny company. They are not they're not Blizzard, they don't have this marketing team. To be fair, they had fucking Sony there, and I mean, this, I guess, kind of shows you just how much, like, maybe Sony is hands off with some of their partners, because
which
Sony
I guess
wasn't
is a good thing in a way.
I guess, but they did not save this sinking ship. Like, when they could have gotten in and swooped it up and been like, no, here's what's happening. It seems like Sony's just like, they partnered with them, they got this thing out, and then they're just like, oh, go fuck yourselves, guys. You can do whatever you want. We have more Uncharted DLC to come out with.
Yeah, I think a big part of that was because Sony looked at it when No Man's Sky came out and said, is this hurting the sales of our console? No, our console's still winning the console war? I guess we don't care then.
yeah. And we have a bunch of other really great first-party titles that are making a lot of money. Or not first-party, but first-party titles that are making a lot of money anyways, like Uncharted and...
Like the Insane Trilogy.
Like the Insane Trilogy, amazingly. And that was supposed to be a giant open universe game. No, I think that they don't communicate well because they're just inexperienced. They made Joe Danger, and then they made this. Like, that's pretty much all they have ever done. And I wonder, I really would like to see how many people this brings back, this big update, because I have never seen anything like the launch of No Man's Sky. I've never seen such vitriol from people on the internet over a game. It was, like, astounding. Like, I don't think we'll ever see anything like that again. Like, it was unreal.
Are you trying to tell me that we're not going to see vitriol in the video game community on a grand scale again? I think you're being way too optimistic.
You're probably right. But to the level that No Man's Sky was dealing with, like, that was exceptional. Like, there's been a lot of vitriol. Of course, it's the internet and it's video games. It's you're like swimming in a pool of bile, like, all the time. From a bunch of children, but, like, it's that Disney is trying to get the
Disney's selling the personal information. No wonder they're so upset.
No wonder they're throwing up into this pool. Why am I swimming in here? But no, I think there's always going to be that kind of stuff. But, like, it was just it felt amazingly huge when it happened, because like like Sean Murray was on the fucking Tonight Show with this game. Like, it was incredible. And then like the game came out and people were just, it was unlike anything I'd ever seen. I think that there's still too much bile. I think there's still too much bad taste. I think this game could never regain people to play it. Like, I think that is a burned island, you know.
Yeah, no, I think you might be right. And what makes me sad about it, because in the past when Hello Games would put out smaller content updates, I'd be like, yeah, this isn't bringing people back, and I don't feel bad about it. But with this one, I am starting to feel bad, because I look at this content update and I'm like, man, that is a ton of content. They deserve to get players back from this, but they're probably not going to.
Yeah, they're putting in the work. They're just, I don't know if it'll work.
It's already been written. The story's over. They can't change it now. So the show is just about over. We have 30 seconds. But I want to talk about video games that just came out, are going to come out.
New games!
Wow. It's the 11th, so we just saw the release of such games as Hellblade.
Where's that list that you go to? For the
it's just Wikipedia.
Is it just like
2017 in video gaming? If you Google that, a Wikipedia entry will come up. Though I will point out that this entry is not as complete as I'd like it to be. There are definitely games that they miss on a pretty frequent basis. But Lawbreakers came out.
Yeah.
I was checking reviews for Lawbreakers. Not a ton of reviews are up, because even though it came out on the 8th, I guess there weren't a lot. I guess they didn't do early review copies or something, because there are still a lot of sites that have their review in progress. But so far, it's sitting at an 82 on Metacritic, which is pretty good. A lot of people are saying like, "Hey, this game is like clearly plays really well. Like, the combat is very satisfying and different from other similar shooters." And that's what this game needed to do. So it seems to be doing that, and good for Cliffy B.
Yeah,
you know?
I think this game will garner a small but very fervent fan base around it, and I think it'll survive with that fan base.
I can totally see that, definitely. The Hellblade game, there was a little bit of controversy around.
Yeah.
What was it? Jim Sterling's
permadeath.
review. Yeah. Jim Sterling did a review of it where like he went into a part of the game and it glitched on him. And it made it so it was impossible for him to go back, and because then it auto-saved, and it was impossible for him to go back and fix what he had done wrong.
Oh, really?
But it was impossible for him to progress forward as well.
That sucks.
So he gave the review like a 1 out of 10 just because of that. And his whole community came down on him really hard.
Jesus.
Because apparently, like, other than that, it's supposed to be a pretty good game. So
yeah, I actually heard controversy. I heard different controversy about it. So apparently the game is kind of it has a permadeath kind of system, where if you you have this thing that crawls up your arm every time you die more and more, and if it gets to your head, into your brain, then your character's dead and you just have to start over. Kind of like roguelike-ish. But in the advertisement for the game, they said, yeah, if it kills you, you're dead, and it deletes your save file, like, completely. And people were like, whoa, that's kind of wild and kind of cool, I guess. But then, like, immediately after the game came out, people tested it and they found that it wasn't true. Doesn't happen. So they're like, why would you say that? And like, they didn't really respond very efficiently, I don't think. So it's just like this weird thing where they're like, yeah, that's not how that works. like people found out about it in 5 seconds because it's the internet. It's like,
yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
I will say one thing. I think the in terms of the art direction and the graphics on this game, I think it looks beautiful in a very dark gothic way.
Yeah.
And I realized Ninja Theory made this, but of course they did.
Yep.
Totally makes sense.
Of course, Ninja Theory.
Otherwise, we have today Sudden Strike 4 came out, whatever that is. And
Sudden Strike 4.
Yeah. But more notably, on the 14th, StarCraft Remastered is coming out for Windows.
Time to get back in the Brood War.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty excited to see those textures and that 16:9 aspect ratio.
Ooh, baby.
Ooh, baby.
They're not changing any of the code, though, thank God. So
making it pretty.
Just as frustrating as ever, that fucking disorganization engine of a game.
Yep. No, that's...
Were you a big StarCraft person?
Oh, I loved it. I mean, I didn't play it competitively or anything like that, but I played the shit out of it.
Mm-hmm. What was your main race?
It was Protoss all the way. Always Protoss.
Yeah, man.
You got
high five.
They got the best art design of any race in that game.
Yeah, they do.
But the
carrier has arrived.
Yeah, no, just built carriers are just so cool. Just so cool.
We are vigilant. Oh my god, the voices! I'm going to play the shit out of that StarCraft remastered.
So that's exciting. On the 15th, a ton of stuff is coming out.
Yeah.
Nidhogg 2 is coming out for Windows, Mac, and PS4. Nidhogg 2 is crazy to me because it's like Nidhogg had such an amazing, like, simplistic art style, and Nidhogg 2, they were just like, what if it had a completely different, really weird art style?
Yeah. So I read a thing from the developers, and their kind of thing was like, oh, this is kind of the style we always want to go for, but we couldn't afford with the original one. Which I think is interesting.
It's so funny because like the style that they have come out with new, when Dan and I first read about this game, we looked at it and we're like, wow, that looks like vomit. It looks really bad compared to their cool, simplistic, original style.
Simplistic and brutal, and it was nice.
So
we also got Agents of Mayhem coming out. Do you know anything about this game?
I do not. What is this?
So it's a game from Volition, who are the makers of Red Faction and Saints Row. It looks like the lamest thing. It looks so bland. It was at E3 briefly, and it's supposed to be kind of I think a spiritual multiplayer successor to Saints Row.
Okay.
But it just doesn't look good. And like it's being squeaked out like a silent fart, like with very little advertising.
Its box art looks like something that might have came out like circa 2000.
The game looks like something that came out circa 2000.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, it looks really.
Deep Silver, you can do better than this.
We got City Skylines coming to PS4. City Skylines is an awesome fucking game. Actually, I was writing for a video game website when that game came out, and I wrote a piece about the power vacuum left by the SimCity, the new SimCity, that was awful. And how
because that was always online.
Yep. And there was a lot of other problems with it. It was just a trash heap, and it basically led to the closure of Maxis Emeryville, rest in peace. And how City Skylines flew in and basically succeeded by shitting on SimCity. Like,
good for them. Good.
Yeah, they're like, oh yeah, we know all the things you want, and that other game didn't do. We're going to do those things. And it was hugely successful. Did great for Paradox Interactive, and now it's coming to PS4. I don't know how it's going to control with a controller.
That sounds weird, but I mean, good for them getting the port.
But
hold on, what's? Oh man, Sonic Mania is coming out for the Nintendo Switch, PS4, and Xbone.
Yeah, everyone is for some reason excited about that game.
I don't know about that. I'm ready for some T-frames and bad dialogue. So,
no, Sonic Mania is the old school one.
Oh no, I'm still ready for T-frames and bad dialogue.
Okay.
Just because I assume that's going to be in every Sonic game now. I don't care if it's a remake of an old game. It's going to be in it.
Yeah. See, what people they fail to realize is that Sonic's never been good.
I mean, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So we've got, but most importantly, coming out on the 15th, last story.
To you. Most importantly to you.
Most importantly to everyone, excuse you. It's coming out for the Windows and the PS4 is Night Trap 25th Anniversary Edition.
Watch out behind you, Night Trap. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Can you please, you're a musician, can you please cover the Night Trap
absolutely.
song?
I absolutely can. Come for the time of your life.
Right after you're done learning Africa by Toto, if you could not cover that. So, anyway.
Would you please bless the rains, Lex? Can you bless the rain?
That's oh my god, we're going to talk about Africa by Toto after this. We're going to talk about it. Anyway, but that's about it. We're out of time. But not as out of time as we usually are.
Amazingly.
Yeah, amazingly. This has been Don't Copy That Floppy, a video game news podcast broadcasting live Friday, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on chipit.net and twitch.tv/DCTF podcast. I'm your host,
Unless
Lex.
it's today, which it wasn't at that time.
They don't know if they're listening recording. I'm your host, Lex. I'm joined by my repeat guest co-host, Chris Boudreau. Chris, where can people find you online?
You can find me at HereWeGomez8 on Twitter. That's HereWeGomez8. I am a sometimes video game writer, musician, and perpetual dungeon master. You can find all the creative things that I do on my Twitter, which is HereWeGomez8.
Awesome. So, if you can find Don't Copy That Floppy on all sorts of social media by searching DCTF Podcast or Don't Copy That Floppy Podcast. If you'd like to support the show, there are two great ways you can do that. The first one is by going to iTunes and dropping us a rating and review. It helps a lot. We'd super appreciate it. And the other is, if you have a whole lot of money that you are totally comfortable parting with, you can check us out on Patreon and help fund the show. You'll be able to vote on cool stories each week, get access to bonus content, and allow us to meet stretch goals, including getting this Twitch channel and doing some other stuff. So, thanks for listening. Appreciate having you here. Until next time, Chris, what do they have to remember?
Don't copy that floppy!